Alright, welcome to the Empyrion Galactic Survival Learning Zone. I'm KnowItAllDM. Today I am going to be showing you how to start and build a simple base using some advanced techniques that I have learned throughout my adventures in the galaxy. To start with, you need a starter block. Now, most people just place the starter block just about anywhere they want without doing any raising or lowering because they don't know how. In order to raise or lower a blueprint or starter block before you place it, use the page up and page down keys. Now, the problem with this method is that in some places, as you see over here, it will not raise or lower, it simply goes back to where it was. This indicates that the terrain is not flat enough or has something in the way. Now, usually you try to find an open space like this because even these little grass things get in the way of raising and lowering. So I'm going to start my base right here, and I'm going to lower to about this high. Click, and there's the starter. So you've got a core in the ground. The next thing that you want to do is just put a few blocks out. I messed up and put some on top. When that happens, normally you want to use a multi-tool to remove that. However, I don't yet have one. So I'm going to continue this base, building out a little ways, like so. And you can click and drag, as you see me doing, to fill more than just one space. That way you don't just keep clicking and clicking. You can click and drag and add a second area. Now I've got a lot of extra blocks here because I'm talking and not really paying attention to what I'm doing, so things are getting all messed up. Now, another technique that you need to know when building a base is how to change it from just a block into different shapes. To do that, simply right-click and it brings up this menu right here. You can choose from any of these menu pieces and just click on them, and it changes the block to the shape you want. From there, you can place the block wherever you want. Now, you may notice this green line as an axis. What that does is you can use the home and end buttons on your keyboard to rotate that. Now, I've rekeyed this for easier use for me to the numpad 8 and 2 buttons. 8 rotates counterclockwise and 2 rotates clockwise. And then you just place your block as you want. Now, other shapes that you may want to, let's say I wanted to put, I want to put this as a roof on top of one of the other blocks. Well, you can use the insert and delete buttons to change the rotation axis of the block. So I can rotate this like so and place it like that, and I've now got a roof. Now, this takes up the entire block, so you can't add anything inside there, which prevents you from being able to build things like, you know, you can't build a refrigerator or anything in there, and it just takes up wasted space. So usually what I end up doing before I place my walls, I place walls on the outside like this so that I can put a wall here and then still be able to build on the inside. And when I'm building a roof, I usually use drone mode to go ahead and put higher blocks on, than I want the building to be. Let's say I wanted this 2 high. I would go ahead and build the wall 3 high with this, and then put blocks like this as the ceiling. Now, I do a full block as the ceiling so I can build both on top and on the bottom, especially if I wanted to make a second story on the top. If you're wondering about drone mode, F5 is your drone mode. In drone mode, you can place blocks, access inventories. If you want to see a full list of what you can do in drone mode, check out Captain Adonis's channel, and he has several videos showing what you can do with the drone. Now, I use the drone more for building and repairing things than I do for anything else, but it's also useful for getting packs and the like. So, next thing to do with your base, once you have it in the design you want, which of course this design is definitely not the way I want it, however, I'm just going to go with it. The next thing you want is you want a generator and a fuel tank. Now, you can place these anywhere you want. Normally, they're placed on the interior. However, I often place them on the outside by first placing the blocks down, like you have seen here. I do this, and then in order to get the block further away from the wall, you can snap a block onto a ceiling like so, and there you go. The block is further away. I then build the generator. I usually just use the lower blocks like this, and then build the generator and thing on the outside, a little bit of ways from the house, especially just with my starter house. Now, normally I make my starter house out of wood, but around here there wasn't a whole lot of forest, so I went ahead and just used what metal I had. Plus, I've got an iron deposit right there, so I wasn't too worried about that. So, what you also need, you need fuel to access the to put fuel in the fuel tank, and then you're going to need a large constructor. Now, usually, as I said before, the constructor is placed on the interior of a 2 high wall, or of a 2 high base. Because it is too high, I occasionally place them outside just to save space inside my base. Now, in addition to the constructor, you're going to want a clone chamber, which can also be placed anywhere you please. I like placing them inside. Other people place them outside, but placing things inside is more protective against drones. Now, of course, on this completely abstract base here, well, there's really no interior. Not yet, anyway. So, after you've got the appliances you want in and fuel in your tank, you can turn on the base by standing on it and hitting the Y button. This activates the base. Now, you can hit the P button, which brings up your control panel, and you can see all the things that are attached to the base. I usually auto group them, so it groups them by constructor, core, fuel tank, lights, all that. But you can also create your own groups and add individual pieces to groups. This button here adds it to the last group that you added something to, and this renames whatever group you have selected. Now, I always click the home button in here so that whenever you die, even if you don't have a clone chamber, you can respawn near your home. Additionally, you can activate and deactivate the whole base by just clicking this button here. Furthermore, you can activate and deactivate individual items by selecting them and clicking the active button here to deactivate them. Now, if you deactivate your core, your whole base shuts down. When you reactivate it, it's the same as clicking the powered button. But if you're in, say, a capital ship and you do that with the thrusters, it saves power while inside the capital ship. Speaking of power, you may notice that there is a power usage thing down here in the lower right in your control panel. The power usage percentage is the percentage of your maximum output that you're using under the consumption. Now, 17 kilowatts is nothing compared to 2.5 megawatts. Now, 2.5 megawatts is also nothing compared to the 50 megawatts that larger generators put out. So, larger generators are better, even for the amount of space they take up. They take up less space per... They gain more megawattage per block that they take up, even though they are larger. Now, the power left here is hours and minutes. The mass doesn't really matter with a base. With a capital ship, it matters because it takes into account the thrust that your thrusters puts out and all that. The amount of fuel, you can see how much you have left here, and while in here you can access your fuel tanks or oxygen stations just by clicking on the tank you want to access and hit access. This also works in works for turrets and the like. Now, when you're on a capital vessel, in order to access a turret, you have to go through the control panel. However, you can only access it from, like, when you're in a capital vessel, when you're in either a cockpit or a passenger seat. Now, that is the basics of base building, construction, and the like. I hope you guys enjoyed this educational episode of Empyrion Galactic Survival. If you did, hit that like button, and if it helped you out, leave a comment below and let me know. I'm KnowItAllDM, and as always, y'all have a good day now.